Welcome to the Port Charles Update with your hosts, Mish and Nelle.
Hello. Hi. Why'd you wait so long to say hi? Is that some kind of like power thing that you're trying to do? Some corporate shenanigans?
I am a fan of The Office, so
Okay, so I want to introduce a new segment for today only. Maybe. We don't know. But for today. So it's called, do you want to know? Because like I feel like I'm doing
I
this
would
alone. Like,
I would love to know.
Okay, it's called Things We Learned in Passing.
What did we learn?
Okay, so there's two things that we learned in passing today, this week. So we learned that Britt did die and then woke up in the Five Poppies. There was no plan. She was approached. There was no deal to be had. She just was taken. And we learned this in passing.
I have so many questions. Like, were they stalking her body? Did they already bring her to the hospital? Was she still on the boat? Like, who has been following Brett all this time?
It's weird, right? Like, it's just like, we just have a feeling you will near death soon. Maybe they were planning to near death her. Something else we learned in passing is that Christina, what? It's not good. You're firing me. We shouldn't podcast anymore. You don't like it? You don't like the segment? I listen to all your stars and stuff, all your made up categories.
I love this. I love this very hard. I love it.
You're
Continue.
bored? Are you bored? Are they bored? Okay. So we're serious. Imagine this
Super
is one
serious
of the
podcast
podcasts where
guy.
I'm not drinking. Like this is actually one of them.
This is us sober guys.
So we learned in passing that Christina is done working at Charlie's and Charlie's is beyond repair.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty heavy and it was like just a matter of fact thing.
In passing. We learned this in passing.
I like it. I like it because honestly, I almost missed the Christina thing.
And also, I'm just saying, like the brown dog, okay? That
Mhm.
used to be like a crazy like gang bar. Like if you need something illegal, you go to the brown dog. And now I'm just sort of like, well, there's too many locals. Like if Molly is slow dancing with Cody and Nina goes there for drinks, this can't be what it was, you know? Because people are showing up now. Do you notice it's like not dangerous at all anymore?
No, because everybody from who used to go to Charlie's is now with the brown dog, and then all of the like hardcore people are like, we got to find a new spot.
Right? And if I was a hardened criminal and I used to have a place to go have a drink after a hard day of crime, I'd be a little annoyed that like Molly's slow dancing with Cody. Like,
Okay,
no,
but
it's
here's
not
the
the
thing.
kind of bar.
But there are crimey people there. It's just low key. Like Nina is full of crime. Christina, full of crime. Jacinda, full of crime.
Sounds weird, but
What? Oh God, I'm sorry.
no, like you're full
Just
of
caught that.
crime. You're just full of no, what did you catch? I don't know what I threw.
I don't know. I honestly don't.
Guys, I don't know why anyone would still be listening at this point, but for those who are, okay,
For our one fan, if you're still there, please just hang on. We're getting to it.
it's just a weird experience right now because I feel like the more we're engaging, the less I feel I understand what's going on. Like the one thing I know in life is General Hospital really well, but the more we're talking, I'm like, do I even watch? Is this actually a podcast? Okay. I'm going to try to stay grounded, everyone. Okay. I'm going to stay grounded.
Let's do it. Me too.
I'm gonna just try to focus on a storyline. So I liked this. Emma and Britt had a face à face. Okay. In
Yes, they
passing.
did. Did they ever?
It wasn't in passing, but she did in passing grab Emma.
Do because they have a lot of history. A lot of time has passed, and Emma, the way Britt speaks about her is so bang on.
That's what I love. But also, the other thing is that Britt treats all the young adults like adults, and I kind of like that because they all want to act all big and bad, like, I can hang. And Britt's like, okay, all right, then I'll treat you like an adult. I'm going to treat you like my equal. So I love how she kind of went at her and basically knocked her down a peg or two. And I will say this, I think Emma is Delulu. I really do. But the fact that she was at least able to acknowledge, like, wait a second, this is insane. Broke into his lab back at Berkeley. Then I followed him And then I just thought to myself, after like a year of telling Gio it's too dangerous for you and I don't want you to get in trouble, that it wasn't a good idea to approach a bunch of high school kids and go, hey, do you want to do it? Because I didn't want Gio to do it. But I think these younger children who haven't been part of this whole plan for a really long time should. And I also think it'd be a really good idea to use Rocco, right? Rocco is like so nice and sweet and cares about Britt, but
Yeah.
why don't we use that, okay, and get him to like prove himself to us not so tough individuals. What? But she finally realized that that was a little convoluted and maybe unnecessary.
I love that. I love her like realization of the moment, and you saw it in her face, and you can see that she truly understood what was going on and how much it affected Britt as well.
Oh, my favorite. My favorite was this when she like Emma was kind of getting annoyed with this conversation. She was like getting annoyed with being, put in the seat of like, you made a mistake. And she was
The
like, I'm
hot seat.
sorry. Like I'm sorry. Exactly. She was like, I'm sorry. And like I apologize. And then I like that Britt showed her that like as a person who's made a lot of mistakes, there are some mistakes that cannot be fixed with an apology or even be cleaned up. And I
I
kinda
love
like
that.
that, right? That dose of reality to Emma that, like, yeah, you can make like and I think that's sort of the lesson too, right? With all of these kids right now that, like, there's real consequences. Like, you guys are growing up. You're not kids anymore, and it's not like when you were a child and you say sorry and it makes everything better. That's not the reality anymore. You guys aren't kids. I think Dante was not just like, "You guys aren't kids anymore. I don't want you as my kid either." So, like, Dante was pretty clear on that.
Great
This girl
transition.
Thank you. I feel like I'm back. I think.
Yes.
And so Dante is like, "Oh no, I messed up. I was mean to my son before I knew he was my son." And he's like, "Now I know he's my son. Why should I have a second thought on this?" Like I was in disbelief. Like Dante's like,
Right?
"I knew it. I knew he was rotten to the core." It's like, what is on?
You
And then
violent playing hooligan.
right? Exactly. And Emma comes in, he's like, "Oh, I see. For a girl. You sent your brother to jail for a girl." And I'm like, "I don't know. You
What's
sent your brother to
happening?
jail because you were self-righteous. Which is better?" You know?
Right? Oh
Because
my
at
gosh.
least Gio didn't intend to, right? Gio didn't say, "Hey, go confess." Like, you literally went to go find your brother, hunted him down, and was like, "This is what you should do. Let me hand you to
Mhm.
them." You know? Like, what I think it was worse because Dante, like, believed in his, like, whole profession. He's like, "I'm in the law line of work. If you're honest about manslaughter, we're pretty good about it. So just say you did it, and we'll be like, 'I see that you're sorry,' and then that's it." You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But I
Yes.
mean and what's interesting is like Dante can't get over that there's incidences involving Rocco, and they also involve Gio. And I'm just thinking to
Yes.
myself, like, if your kid keeps getting in trouble and is such a people pleaser, like, maybe raise him more, just like a little bit. Like, don't quit now. I don't think you should.
You're gonna hate what I'm gonna have to say, but maybe you
What?
think about it too. Lulu pointed out that Rocco hasn't been on the straight and narrow up until Geo, that he has been lying. He has been doing underhanded things that did
Yes.
not include Geo.
No, no, I completely agree with that. I was afraid you're gonna be like, "You're not gonna like this," but I think Dante is right.
Oh
I
no, hell
think
no.
I think Gio is the most demonic violin player. Like, that's messed up, right? When Lulu is like, "I believe he's more than that." Like, not only does he go at Gio at the hospital, right, the first time he finds out, but then he goes and privately goes to Lulu like, "You know what?" Like, everybody was like, "Oh, Dante, you're being hard on him." Maybe I was right. Like, maybe I never needed to try to have a relationship with him. Like, maybe I should have never felt guilty. Like, who cares that he's my son? I only raised one. Like, it
Like,
was
who
just
is this guy? So
what?
weird.
Exactly, because I'm like, "Okay, but, like, you're saying that you have a favorite and it's the one you raised." I know that sounds insane.
Yeah, so
But
bad.
the
So
thing
bad.
is, like, you're choosing between 2 kids.
Yeah.
It was what? What? What?
he lives it every day when Sonny chooses Michael over him, and that battle for his father's love, and he's pinning
Yeah.
his kids against each other and creating this giant issue between him and Gio. Interesting.
But this is exactly why Sonny chooses Michael, you know? He's so
He's
black and
acting out.
white, he's like, "I'm on the side of the law, you're a criminal," you know? And then he's like, "You're my good son, and you're just, like, not so good." He's ridiculous, and I guess I don't know, do you think that's also part of it, that he's like, "Rocco deserves to be loved more because he's the good one," but again, like you pointed out, Lulu was like, "I'm starting to think that Rocco's responsible for his own choices?" Do you think? Do you think that could be? Are you gonna spend the rest of your lives punishing all the people around him because he could get an idea? Like, that's insane to me.
That's insane, but I feel like this would be really funny that because of everything and the scenes we saw with Charlotte, who's the common denominator here? Lulu, but Lulu's been in a coma for 4 years. So really it falls back on Dante, who's been raising both of them technically, but he's gonna blame Lulu for their bad behavior.
I mean, like, Lulu is pretty honest about her kids, and she is starting to kinda question herself in this whole thing. Like, she's starting to realize,
Yes.
like, kids are lying because they can't really come to me. She's
Mhm.
listening to Nathan, right? She's more open to that kind of idea. But I was just thinking the other thing, like you were saying, like how Lulu was in a coma, because there's other things that happen too. Because in order to save Rocco, there is this debate about like Danny and Charlotte coming forward. And the thing is, unfortunately for Dante, this is basically only relevant for Lulu and Jason. Like they're the ones who have final say. But then
Yes.
he keeps piping in with his like very strong opinions, and it's interesting watching Lulu because with anyone else, she will bulldoze them. But she's in that room knowing what she wants to do. And she's trying to kind of manage Dante in those moments. But I think it would be really funny because he didn't get a say, right? Lulu was obviously open to the idea. And to be honest,
Mhm.
the kids kinda make choice for them, and it's ridiculous that Lulu even pretends she has a choice because, her daughter is Charlotte, but I just keep waiting for
Mhm.
that day, because he kind of can act out and he says really insane things, but I'm waiting for the day that, like, he gets mad at Lulu and just says, "Just go back to sleep already." Like, that's what I'm waiting for.
Oh, I love it.
But like you said, there is, like, the common denominator, but also just Lulu being able to say, like, Charlotte's been with Rocco every step of the way.
Yes.
But she's not really leading Rocco. They both have things that they're lying about, but basically what's happening is that they're relying on each other, which is normal for
Yeah.
siblings, and covering each other, which is normal for siblings, but they are relying on each other in a way that may not have been as necessary if Lulu was open. Like they might have gone to her. So the whole time that Danny and Charlotte showed up and Nathan was like, "Yeah, I'll talk to you," I was upset. I'm like, what is with Nathan? Doesn't he know?
Mhm.
I was like ready to cite so many Port Charles cases. I was ready to cite, when Jordan spoke with Trina and Trina refused to have an adult or a lawyer. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, they're underage and they need to have an adult there. And then I was like, okay, so Nathan knew what he was doing the whole time. So that was comforting.
Adorable.
But contrary to what Charlotte is leading Danny to believe, you're right. Legally, the statement you gave Nathan doesn't count, but Nathan still had ears and
Yep.
he still heard it all. Okay. And as you heard, the recording wasn't deleted. And now Charlotte
Yes.
has a new idea. She's like, you know what we could do in addition to confessing the truth? Also confess lies. I was like, "No, what is going on?" And it was just so funny, like, watching like, Dante was there too, but it was mostly about, like, Jason and Lulu being brought in to the room with Danny and Charlotte. I felt like it was such a karma moment, you know? Like, Lulu has Lulu'd all over the place, and now she's forced to deal with what it's like, except Charlotte is usually one step ahead, and that's something. And then Jason walking into his son there, it was just so funny.
Well, it's like we've been watching it for so long. We do not
Yeah.
need to say the years. And to see like the characters we love who were teenagers and young children now have children
It's
and be in
crazy.
that familiar setting is bananas to be able to witness this. And I love the picture and the post that you did because it is such a moment. Like I looked at that scene and it was like, wow, this is crazy. This is historic.
Exactly, but there's so much tied into this story, like, there's so much.
So
Like,
much.
you have the lab and Rocco and Dalton and then it comes out that they got the key fob from Britt.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot going on, and I think my favorite aspect of it was the Alexis Rick. That to me was
Early star friend, that hypothetical chat was
yes.
amazing.
They were so funny because you have Charlotte and Danny and you're getting scared. You're having, like, Britt talking to Jason being like, "Please get your son to confess." And he had to explain, like, why it's so complicated for Danny. Was it then where they started to have a conversation about something like what he would do for Carly? Yeah. Or like, "Would you say no to Carly?" And then he said to her, "Yeah, I would." But then I whispered, "But Carly wouldn't have asked."
Yeah.
It's okay, like, they're making that a really huge thing between them, and I mean, we've talked about this, right? Like, Britt's been pretty blunt about the fact that, like, they're not just friends, and
Mhm.
if she's gonna let him into her life fully, it's gonna be as more than friends, like, that's the message I'm getting.
Yes, same.
And so if they become something more, if she leans on him, it has to be, it sounds like, potentially being together, but also being a priority. And this was a huge thing, right? It was a huge thing before she like had her death on the show, and it was a big thing once they reunited. But it's really interesting how it's getting played into it. And trying to figure out what this means because the way that they're doing the story, like, and we've talked about this before, like, I just find it very unique, right? It's not this typical Brit comes back and there's this let's resume this romance. Like, it's been way more complicated. She comes back and she's like involved in so many things and so much story. And there's nothing simple about her dynamic with Jason. And
Mhm.
I don't know what to think. I think that even if they're doing this whole story where they find their way to each other, I think it's being really well done because I'm finding it quite unpredictable. So, like, even when I'm watching them, she brings up Carly a lot, and Carly has a huge role to play in their dynamic. And it's just interesting how she uses her as an example, this idea that he would do anything for her. But it's like, but it also highlights, but it's mutual though. Like, yes, he would do anything for her. Yes, he would drop things for her, but some of the things she's asking him to do are not
Mhm.
necessarily things Carly would ask him to do. And they have two examples of that. So the whole thing, like Carly being in his life, also cares about his kids the way she cares about her kids and would
Yes.
understand and implicitly know all of the threats to Danny.
Mhm.
And they also, in their world, have other options, in air quotes, if one of their kids were in trouble.
Right, true.
Right. And then later on, at the end of the week, that was insane, right? So in this interaction, she's ready to kind of really cross a line for him. And then she is super explicit that she has to be a priority, has to be, like,
Mhm.
above all else. And then he gets a phone call and leaves. And I look at that scene and I'm like trying to understand this, right? Because I'm like, okay, so part of the Carly Jason friendship is also it extends to Sonny, right? It's a trio. And the whole thing about like Carly being in their lives is that she understands the business. And that is what kind of set Carly apart was that she did accept that life and accept certain realities that came with it. So when she's sitting there being like on the outside, her perspective is you give Carly everything.
Mhm.
It's interesting because if for her sake, you give her everything, you do everything, so do it now, like, just drop everything now, and it's funny because it's like, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, "Well, actually," I can see like, I'm starting to find a bit more nuance in it, I guess. I guess it's interesting watching it now that I'm talking to you from her perspective, that it's really just that cut and dry. He does anything for her, and I'm like, "Well, that's kind of a little simplistic," Like, I
It
understand it's kind of
is.
annoying when Carly points out their history, but even when I'm looking at these scenes, even I know, right? With the whole Danny thing, no, Carly wouldn't have asked that. And then in that moment, I'm like, yeah, but Carly would have expected that. She would have expected like she has Jason's devotion and Sonny's, but like with all the conditions. And that's the thing that she
Mhm.
expects. And I think on the outside, what we've seen time and again is people getting upset and angry about Jason prioritizing Carly and how he drops everything for her. But the flip side, the part that they don't see is that what Carly is willing to do for him as well. And I'm kind of noticing that in the dynamic with Britt and Jason, is that Carly kind of tells him stuff, like she just does it, and that was sort of their
Mhm.
dynamic. And like Britt is sort of asking for the Carly treatment without necessarily kind of giving, or being open or honest. You know what I mean? Like with her, it's a lot of testing. I'm not saying it's good or bad. And we have talked about that could be a healthier dynamic for Jason, but it's like interesting to watch, like the perspective is he'll do anything for her, but it is a mutual relationship and there's not much mutuality I find between Britt and Jason.
There really isn't, and like it or not, history to some extent does matter. Like, no, you
Mhm.
cannot have the Carly treatment because you are your own person developing your own relationship with Jason.
Yeah.
If you keep hanging on to that, you're just basically pushing him away. And I agree, the relationship is reciprocal. Like, Britt is holding on to so much. We felt, this week she was gonna give a little and tell him more, but then immediately got shut down. Like, he has a big circle. Like, she may see him as this lone wolf, but he has children. He lives at the Quartermains. He
Yeah.
has a history with Sonny. He works for him still. He has Carly. Like, he has such a big life outside of her, and Brit's circle is quite small.
Yeah, I kind of feel like for the first time, I'm seeing this as more complicated than I initially thought. I guess I just
Mhm.
figured, yeah, like she's like the new thing for him and she's asking for priority and she's not like other people and she is different with him. But I'm starting to realize some similarity that Britt has with all the other people that have come into Jason's life is sort of they want to be in Jason's life, but they want a certain status in his life because it's special to be prioritized by Jason. And I'm starting to see that she's sort of doing that, like wanting the status that comes with him and wanting that kind of level of attention, but kind of being
Mhm.
really more explicit in how she's demanding it. And also just what you pointed out, that he has like a bigger circle. And that's interesting too, right? Because yeah, like we've seen Jason over the years, right? We've seen all the romances, but yeah, that does make things so different now. Is
Mhm.
that he's not actually as, like, loosey-goosey Jason as before. There are actually more obligations, and he may not be as free, and even if it wasn't Carly, there would also be, like, a Danny consideration. Like, Danny played a huge role in what he was willing to do for Sasha, right? What he did for Sasha was
Yes.
a combination of his sons, and I'm talking Michael and Danny. Like, they actually played a role in those choices, and I'm starting to see it's not so simple, and I actually don't know because when we talk about this idea of like, oh, will he let go of Carly? You're right. His world isn't actually just that because that phone call wasn't from Carly, it's from Sonny. Carly actually has her own story going on right now. And forget Sonny and Carly. This is a period in his life where he's actually making room for the Quartermains.
Yes.
So now I'm actually not quite sure where Britt fits into this. It doesn't mean that they can't have a romance, but this demand for just 100% devotion, I mean, is that not what we're seeing, with Carly and Jason? It's just that they have obligations to other people, right? They don't just have kids now, like Sonny has grandkids, right? They have grandkids. I'm
It's
like, I
so
guess I didn't
wild.
yeah, I guess I didn't see that before because if anything, in terms of the Jason storyline, yes, of course, the Jason Carly dynamic is something. And like for a while, it was really just Britt being like, give me this. And you're like, oh, maybe they'll be together. Like that's what we're looking at. It looked like a love square, like Brennan, Britt,
Mhm.
Jason, Carly. But yeah, I'm starting to realize it's not that simple because if you're Jason, it's a huge milestone that now he is like split between the Carly and the Sunny world, which is less and less, but also now he made it space for the Quartermains. He's prioritizing Danny. He has these relationships with Tracy. Like he's still looking out for Michael. There's this worry with Joss. Like I'm starting to realize, like, I don't know. Like him moving toward the Quartermains did dull the alliance with Carly and Sunny to a degree.
You made a lot of really good points because it's making you see, or making me see, that Brit's version of events is really young. Like, you brought in the fact of like Elizabeth and all these other women. I don't know if you said that out loud or if I just kind of jumped to the conclusion, but at that point
I
in time, when women in his youth were treating him that way and fighting for this Carly attention, it was when it was solo Jason. So Britt is bringing in this very young mindset and young attitude when he has decades of baggage and a whole life.
Yeah. Like it's just not what I guess I originally thought it was or maybe how it was presented. I'm just starting to realize that it's so much more complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cuz even when he walked out, I was like this is interesting. He just said sorry. Like he held the door and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Huh, that must have been hard because he's hearing her please,
Mhm.
but like, he had something real to do that he knew was important enough. It was just interesting watching how Jason handled that. And it's not so cut and dry as me choosing you over everyone else. And maybe this is about, okay, I can see that. Maybe this is still Jason educating some woman and helping her out and helping her grow. And maybe that's what it is. His world is so big and maybe helping her understand that. I think he'll still rescue her, but I just find dynamic wise, I'm not quite sure. Like, I don't know.
I'm right with you.
But the dynamic with Rick and Alexis was hilarious. So while we're like worried about like Charlotte and Danny and Nathan, like, what is happening? I just love, like, I'm like, Rick, your deal doesn't make any sense. Like, oh, you're gonna help me clear Willow if I just give you my grandson? Like, why would she have taken that deal?
You know, but I love honestly, early start of just Rick. I love this new direction, him rolling with the fact that he was in a cult and had an awakening, that he's making peace with his brother, making peace with Alexis. The conversation, the fact that he can make jokes, that he was tied up in a basement and that it changed
Right?
his life, but could also want to plot revenge was amazing.
Like, honestly, like, especially in Alexis's orbit, like, I'm loving just watching the beauty that comes with making peace with, like, an enemy. So it's toned down, but there's, like, a frenemy situation, but I do like the
Yes.
alliance. That's what it is. I like that in Alexis's world, there are newfound alliances, unlikely ones that are really funny, like just her kicking the door, knowing he would cave, him using the hypotheticals, they're back and forth and teasing, because, like, honestly, they were a pretty phenomenal team.
Yes.
They really came they really walked into the PCPD with, like, a united front. So, yeah, I feel like that's one of those, like, just unexpected surprises that has me a little excited. All again, still very complicated, this whole Dalton thing, right? So you have all of this going on, and attached to it, Jocelyn pops back in. Vaughn pops back in, and he calls on her because Dalton is now at a bar. Brown Dog.
Brown dog.
What did you think of those scenes? I was like, "Oh, okay. I hadn't seen Vaughn in a little bit." And then Joss shows up to do her thing. And to be fair, she, like, finagled and knew her way around a drunk guy way better than Chase did. I think
True.
I think she did a way better job. So it's, like, so complicated, right? You have these guys at the PCPD, the concept of coming forward so that charges will be laid against Dalton. You know, we were just talking about Britt and Jason, but also, they're interacting too because of Rocco, and she is worried, and she's running to Jen's, and she's trying to, like, figure this thing out. And so Joss is trying to get information because, again, this has been part of her mission for a long time. And then you have Emma and Gio walk in.
Little old llama.
Oh my gosh, I'm surprised I didn't put more together because notice you have Joss with this professor that she's been warning Emma against. He's super
Mhm.
drunk. She's clearly sober. They're chilling. And then he walks over to her, and then Vaughn shows up, which is supposedly her boyfriend and janitor at PCU.
Her
Then
boyfriend
he
and
flashes his because that's how they know him, and then he
yeah.
flashes his WSB badge and takes the guy out, and then Emma's like, "What? What? You're at a bar hitting on Dalton, a guy you warned me away from, while your ex-boyfriend just happens to be here, and then he's WSB, and then he's taking him out. Whoa, what a weird coincidence!" Joss is like, "I
Right?
know! I just found out! Super weird. What?"
I love it. I love it hard.
But I didn't know what to make of Joss giving her information. I'm like, "Why are you telling Emma this?" Oh my gosh. Again, something we learned in passing, but directly. The lab, animals, dogs, that little doggy, Outback.
I know him saying all that stuff he was saying, just like, I know it just hurt my vegan heart. And, but I'm hoping that Emma will go find the lab. That way, her and Joss have this little bridge to each other and she can actually save the animal.
Oh my god, I don't want a bridge to Emma. I want Joss to save the day and shove it in Emma's face. That's what I want to happen. But, like, Outback, this is what I mean when earlier I talked about this storyline is so big. Like, Outback came in how long ago? I were like, is Outback the dog at the baseball game related to Emma's whole Berkeley lab situation? Then there's like Dalton. Okay. Britt comes back from the dead. All right. Jenz, we find out, has his hand in something. Okay. Hi, Pascal. And then it's like, what is going on? So much for so long. And I'm just like, okay. So Outback has been involved the whole time. He has another lab. Okay, so we learned a lot in passing this week.
I'm going to add to your segment what we learned in passing. We learned in passing that Jenz has a partner.
Yes, we did learn that in passing. Do you know what we learned in passing a few weeks ago that is now could have been relevant? We learned in passing, like a week or two, that Sonny had a fleet of tow trucks.
Yes, we did. That was so random.
And then when a moment happened where we could have used a tow truck, we didn't. But we know they're there. And I think that's what's important. Moral of the story. Just because you don't see a tow truck, it doesn't mean there aren't tow trucks. They're not just in your heart. They're on the street.
Exactly. I picture Sonny doing one of those like really cheesy used car salesman commercials for his tow truck company.
Oh my gosh. If I had energy, I would make a tow truck commercial with Sonny. Will you ever see them? Probably not. But this is just so you know we're here or there, if you can find.
It's just a blank screen. There's no tow trucks.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so before any tow truck is required, Dalton, who's Dalton?
We learned this in passing. His real name is Dalton.
Dalton is so drunk, he's like, let me get on a boat.
Every drunk person just wants to get on a boat and sway back and forth. It feels great.
So he takes a boat ride to Windermere, where Britt is having the funniest conversation with Jenz. I'm watching the show. I'm like, la la la, this is happening, and I'm distracted. And then I'm just hearing the most insane stuff coming out of Jen's mouth. And I look up, I'm like, is this really happening? When he was like, I don't understand the whining. It's like, I don't understand. And I'm like, what? And then when he made fun of Jason, I was just like, this is gold. This is
Gold.
so funny. So funny. Look, I think that he's really deranged, but I don't know. Maybe he had a fair point. What did Britt think he would do with him? You can't fire a guy who's
Yeah.
willing to sell the information to the highest bidder.
There shows like another one of your points. Like Carly knew what she was getting herself into. She is not afraid of all of the dangerous things that happen around her. She is ready for everything. And Britt is still so new.
Wow, I didn't notice that. That's true. She didn't know what she was getting into. She's like, I'm going to save Joss's life, and then I'm taken. And I don't know how to be taken better than I've been taken. I'm not making fun of you. It's all just coming out of my mouth right now. And I'm like, but she's not doing a good job
No,
of
very
navigating
much not.
it, you know? And to be honest, it's kind of a disappointment. I can see why Faison was disappointed in her. Like, that's why she's not leading.
Stop.
So he gets shot right in front of her face, and I feel like that's pushed her over the edge.
Just a little.
This portion of Michelle is just stating facts.
I feel like you need like a little news desk.
I think Britt was pushed over the edge after seeing a man shot. So
But
was
here's the
Laura.
thing.
Laura saw the same body.
Yes.
Maybe it's just his body. Maybe he just has a really terrible effect on people because Britt's like, Dalton's dead body. And Laura seems to feel the same.
So I think it's funny because like I was like, wow, these people are like dramatic. We're so used to like everybody in Port Charles being used to the weird stuff that constantly happens that when we see somebody like Laura who's been on the show for decades and we're like, you legit never saw a dead body? Like, whoa, like good on you.
Was a doctor. I mean, mind you, she's not there for the shooting.
She's not there for the happenings.
She's seen blood. Like,
Yes.
he barely bled, right? And he barely bled. He got shot and he didn't dirty any furniture. Even funnier is when Pascal shows up and she's seeing him for the first time.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
Oh my God, it's so
He's
bad.
like,
Like that.
It's like, what did he? He's like, I strapped that bump to you because of whatever, but also you are annoying.
Yes, it was like so crazy. So this, I don't know, like he's not much of a bleeder, Dalton, but he dies, right?
No.
I guess
Yeah.
internal bleeding and his heart shot through the
Well,
heart.
Jenz was very laissez-faire about it. He was like, "Well, I shot him in the heart, so he was, like, dead before he fell on the ground. Like, done deal. Don't
Don't
touch
worry.
him."
Don't worry. And I just I don't know. I don't know why that is not a consolation to Laura. He was dead before he was in your trunk. Like,
Exactly.
relax. Relax. You didn't do it. You have nothing to worry about. It's not true. So yeah, so that was crazy, right? He gets shot. But like what is going on with this man's body, right? So now he's
Mhm.
back on a boat for sure. And then they find her car. I don't even know my own license plate, but they found Laura's
Me
car.
too. I also have to take a picture before I go to the hotel, and then they ask me for the license so they can see that my car's in the parking.
See, you're not ready for crime, and that's why they do what they do, because they, like, one's cars, and they're ready.
Exactly.
So the moment Laura's driving, I'm scared, right? Because if you're driving on a soap opera, you're gonna hit someone or you're gonna die. You're gonna crash. But then
Yeah,
she's driving
totally.
and I'm like, "Wait a second. What does this mean?" Because she threatened Dalton publicly, which I don't know. Why was Elizabeth judging her so hard on that? She was in the background being like, "Ooh, this is maybe you shouldn't." And I was like, "No, she's fine." Well, she's not
Yup.
now, but she was at the time, and it got her the election.
Exactly.
So I saw Nathan and Elizabeth stared at each other for 1 second.
They
Could
stare
they
at
be a
each
couple?
other?
They just looked at
Wait,
each
are they
other.
related?
No.
No. Okay, no, because you never know. Like, I'm like, how many degrees of separation?
So, like so Nathan and her, they were just together, and that's what I mean, like, I guess for me, I'm like, "Is someone gonna, like, be a couple?" Nothing went down particularly poorly. Britt came back, and I'm just kind of like, "What's going on, everybody?" And so, what do you think? Could Nathan be with Elizabeth?
I feel like they're so cute because they're so,
He
like,
should.
normal, and Nathan's just so, like, sweet and shiny, and it's kind of who Elizabeth used to be, but she has experience and a little bit of jadedness, so they would balance each other out really well.
I see 0 chemistry, but I would like there to be some.
And, like, visually, they're very pretty together, but yeah, there was no chemistry.
Yeah. So that's something I was thinking. So there's that public thing. She wins. They like Drew decides to show up for a scene simply to be obnoxious. Jordan's like, be better. And he's like, this is the best version of me. And I'm like, what's going on? Like Willow's out of jail and you're clearly bored. Like she's not hanging out with you.
Right?
And then Ezra shows up to be like, this can't be. And we're like, but it is. And I love how she handled him and told him that he's free to tantrum, just do it elsewhere.
Love it,
But there
love
was
it.
a reason, right? There was a reason why Ezra just popped in. You know, it has to do with the whole alibi. Like things are just a lot. I will say this Willow, when she was talking to Alexis, and Alexis was like, can you take me through the events now that you're out of jail? Because apparently they did not have this conversation before. I felt
Wild.
like Willow was like, hi, Alexis, let me just try to test out lying to you. Like, it was weird. Like, the expressions she
So
gave
weird.
Alexis was sort of like, let me test out, like, helpless victim act. But I'm like, this is odd because, like, you're saying you didn't do it. You have your lawyer right now. Why aren't you just, excited to give her details, right? Why aren't you just bombarding her with details? Like you knew where you were. Shouldn't this be the place where you like brainstorm as to how to prove it? Like you just said, I was in my car scrolling, means your phone was with you. Wouldn't your location be there?
Yes.
So I just thought that was interesting, but also the look she gave made her look guilty, and she really has to be. Like I just want to, I think, like Chase needs that shoved in his face.
Oh, big time. It's so bad. It's so annoying.
Like, Mr. The law. And he's like, oh, Nina, I know about your crime, but that's fine. I will look past your crime to help Willow with her crime. Her innocence makes you less guilty.
I wish Brooklyn could have heard all that.
I feel so bad for her, but I am so glad that she just focused on herself, right? Like she was trying to do this whole thing a long time ago of like, Dante, take the lead for us. Like you have more access and maybe an opportunity with Geo. And I'm glad. Like I mean, it was so sweet. I'm like, did Michael really do that? And then she just
Mm.
jumped right in, like exactly what you should do. She's like, Dante doesn't speak for me. Like I like that. Like this is your
Yeah, me too.
kid. You can't necessarily be partners with this. You're not aligned. And Dante is just in this really messed up space. And honestly, it shows consistency on Brooklyn's part because this is how she felt the last time. And I don't think she didn't know Gio was her son then. And she sided with him and defended him then too. But what I thought I was hallucinating when Gio said, "Thank you, mom." I know, so beautiful. I was stunned. I was stunned. Like, at first, I didn't realize until they came back from commercial break that when she was talking to him about this idea of, like, you don't know, right? Like, you can have good intention and things can go sideways. And then when he said, like, "When you gave me up," to be honest, like, I didn't catch on right away because they cut to commercial, like, what that
Mm,
meant. I thought he was putting it on the table to kinda, like, talk about and upset, but I didn't realize that was his way of sort of saying, "You were trying to do this good thing, but it went sideways and you didn't know." So I was
yeah,
like, "Oh, okay, okay." He's, like, trying to connect with her on this, which is really huge. I mean, we
huge. In
know that
passing.
in passing in passing, he called her mom.
Mhm.
Can we just say there's a lot that goes on in passing. Okay, this might be a recurring segment, guys,
It
throughout
might, it
our
just
podcast.
might. We're gonna have to come up with some music for it.
But it's like the whole episode we've been talking about in passing. I feel like it's from a show in passing, and I don't know if it was like a skit, but that's all that's running through my head, and I can't remember, and it's like driving me nuts. But yeah, so we knew that Gio had bonded with Sonny. We knew that he was seeing Ned as his grandfather. Obviously, I just figured it would remain pretty complicated with Dante and Brooklyn, but especially Brooklyn because of their conversation and the idea that he had his mom. And he was like, "You
Yeah,
can't take her place." So I honestly, I was really, really shocked that it wasn't just a hug, but that he used that word because I feel like it's infinitely more complicated, the whole mom title, because his mom died.
exactly.
So I was really, really surprised. It felt fast for me. Like the bonding was beautiful, but I was taken aback by him calling her mom.
I thought there would be more time in between, but with everything
Yeah.
that's gone on as of late between Ned, his,
Oh,
conversations with
right.
Emma, like, it just felt like
Right.
and the conversation with Ronnie, just like it was being pushed
Yes.
forward faster so he doesn't miss any more time.
Okay, that makes it make sense for me now. It feels a little less weird. So back to what is weird, which is Chase. So not only does he have that whole interaction with Nina, he learns some stuff. Ezra walks in, and we saw the preview where he's like, "I can disprove Michael's alibi." And I was like, "Oh no." But I just feel like if Michael is gonna go in with Jacinda and they've aligned their
Mhm.
stories, like you mean to tell me that they didn't go into details of what she did that night? Like I find that hard to believe.
Right?
I find it hard to believe that at this stage in the game that Michael has not considered what she was doing that night. Like, are you kidding me? Like, he's like, "I need an alibi. I'm never gonna ask you what you were doing." You know what I mean? Like, what if she was out publicly somewhere?
Yeah, I have a hard time believing it. Like we said, we're just waiting for Chase to fall flat on his face,
Yeah.
and he just has to take this windy road to get there.
But I loved, what ended up happening in Alexis's office. I'm like, seriously, like, he ran in there so excited that he could disprove Michael's alibi, and for a split second there, it felt like how Drew-esque, because here Alexis has to point out
Mm,
case is about Willow. You can disprove his alibi, but she is the one on trial. Like you disproved like Nina's out like Nina lied, but she's not on trial. And Alexis keeps trying to get her point across to Drew and her whole strategy across that it's best to like cast out on everyone and to point out that they didn't truly investigate. It's not their job to indict Michael. And so I loved how she was able to poke holes, being like, okay, but like, you're the ex. He was drunk. And even if he did confess to you, Jacinda can easily say, no, I wasn't.
exactly.
So it's just like none of this helps Will. And that's what she's trying to say. Like, how does this help exactly? And then he was like, well, then I'll make it formal. I have a reason. And it was just crazy. Like his fixation that what he believes is right is, he's not wrong, right? Like your opinion that they should have done better and that the other cops should do better and they should spend more time on the investigation. But again, shouldn't that be the case for everyone?
Yes.
And the idea that he can't seem to comprehend, like, the realities, like, you can like, basically, is this a hill you wanna die on? She's pointing out, like, "I don't disagree with you, but there is the reality that you're dealing with powerful people and that they're well connected, and you can stand up for your rights and you can do what's right, but what's also real is that they can squish you." No one's saying
Exactly.
exactly. She's not saying don't do the right thing because they will squish you. She's saying the thing you're doing may not move the needle like at all. Like what you have is not a slam dunk. So you're going to put all of this in motion for something that's not necessarily the thing that's going to get Willow off and be taken down. Like what are you doing? Like no ability to kind of like assess risk to himself at this point.
No, absolutely not. And somebody who also cannot always assess risk is Lulu. What did you think of that scene? of her walking into Bobby's and letting Carly in on what happened during the hearing.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. That scene was kind of amazing, right? Because as soon as that whole thing played out, it was so tough to watch. But anybody who knows, you can't help but think about what happened to Michael. And yeah, I think it had to be said, right? It's the elephant in the
Yes.
room. Like Lulu can't talk to Carly without acknowledging that, you know? So, and I mean, look, it was necessary. It was absolutely necessary for it to be brought up. And I will say this in Lulu's favor that this was something she did acknowledge years ago, but I mean, she gets it obviously all the more now. And, for Carly to look at
Exactly.
her and say, "You don't want your son there, it'll change him." Her being able to say, like, "We thought we knew what was right." I mean, I guess if we're looking at Lulu's arc since she's returned, I mean, this is definitely a situation that's having her rethink things, like even without him being detained, she was starting to see that her kids were lying. She was starting to kind of like certain realities about her closer circle was starting to hit. She had come back a little chaotic, in everyone else's business, and I find like her own life was starting to catch up with her. And I think this is such a significant moment, and it could be one of those things that really changes Lulu.
Yes, absolutely.
And when Dante is erratic, like, she looks way more evolved. Like, for her to kinda like, for him to be able to dismiss his own son like that, and for her to be like, "I don't think that's who he is." Like, she's able to say, like, "I'm not happy with Gio," but, like, she's like, "That's not who he is. He's not the worst of it, and it's not even intentional." Like, everybody has a role to play, and she's even pointing the finger at her own daughter. But yeah, that scene with Carly was really poignant. I mean, she went there for support. I honestly thought she was going for Brendan's help. I didn't realize she was going there to kind of like debate, having Charlotte come forward.
Yes. Would you like to add something before I say the line?
Curtis, a couple of things about him this week. So he goes to talk to Portia, and he tells her that Sala discovered that she's pregnant and then made a comment, you medical professionals. Stella's a social worker.
Yeah.
She's not a medical professional. And something else that happened is that he starts talking to Portia, because she already said to him, like, dude, we don't have to be married to raise this kid. And then he's like, Stella was saying stuff. She's like, no, you kissed Jordan. I'm not going to get back together with you because you're scared of your aunt.
No, but I love it. She basically said she was so chill and low key when she said this that it was so good. She said it in passing. I saw you kissing Jordan, but it's all good because we're like doing our own thing. I was like, damn, that was so good.
It was so good, and that's the thing about him, it's like he gets caught, and this guy can't take accountability and be honest about his role in the demise of their marriage. Like, he'd rather point to, like, one big significant event and ignore all the little actions that he committed that deteriorated their marriage, and so, like, for him, this is wrong. Like, he's been caught. She said, "You kissed Jordan," and I know him. The moment he finds out that Portia slept with Isaiah, it's gonna erase anything he did, and he's gonna, like, double down on the whole victim thing.
Oh, yes, it's gonna be so annoying.
Oh my gosh. What did he say when she was hiding the sonogram, and then he takes it and he says something to the effect of like, "Whoever they are, they're perfect." I'm like, "Oh, no. I'm putting pressure on this baby. Be perfect, please. Please." And then you have Trina. Like, I'm glad that she had, like, a Kai to kinda talk things out with, but I have to this is what I think. This is what I'm gonna bet on, okay? Because she's talking about Jordan and married men, like, she's really getting involved in her parents' marriage. She has this whole idea that, like, if they know that Drew's not after them, all the pressure should be gone. And then Kai's like, "Well, maybe there was more going on." And I find it so simple-minded given, that she's had relationships to think that like one person, I mean, it's Curtis, but thinking that Jordan is responsible for the demise of their marriage. But just the fact that she keeps talking about Jordan and married men, I have a
Yes.
feeling that storyline we'll see down the line for Trina.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Like, what if it's Spencer? Remember a long time ago, there was like this image. There was an image of Spencer and Jocelyn. And we talked a lot about how, even though they're all friends, they've known each other all their lives, there was never anything romantic between them. But there's just this understanding between Jocelyn and Spencer. And to be honest, it's
Yes.
very Carly Sonny. And I remember they were dressed up and they were in a courtroom. I think they might have been supporting Trina. But when I saw them together, I could totally, and we talked about it, where I can see this like for some reason or another, they marry kind of like how Sonny and Carly used to do. They would marry for a strategic reason, a legal reason. And I could totally see that idea of like Spencer being married or him and Joss having to be married for some reason. But could you imagine it's like Spencer and he's married? Maybe not to Joss, but like her being the other woman there.
Yes.
I could see her being the other woman at some point just because of the way she won't stop hammering this point. But oh yeah, coming back to Dalton, shoved in Laura's car. And I'm sorry, but what are you who are you fooling scrolling your phone? There was only one person to have called. There was only one person who could have handled that scenario.
I know, I was like, "Is she gonna call Jason or Sonny?" And obviously it was gonna be Sonny because they're family.
Yeah.
It's shoved in our face so many times.
But it's interesting, right? Like, for how long have they been putting their relationship in question? And I just think it's so cool for it to have come full. I mean, not for Laura, but to come to this point where she leaned on him for something like this. Like, what was Alexis gonna do? Like, this
I
looks
know.
terrible. But like, look, Sonny helped her. Jason got rid of it. Like, I don't know. Fingers crossed that they get one over on Jen's. But can I just say with Lucas? Yeah, he's all like, "Oh, Carly, you don't support me." Like, she's telling you she's worried about you living in Jens's house, but I'm like, I guess as long as the crime happens in another wing, he's okay.
Exactly, precisely.
As long as the murder happens on the left wing, he's fine. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just so insane to me. Like, I think it's funny seeing this because you have like Lucas going on and on. Auntie Ava, you're better than my sister Carly. It's like, why do you need anyone to approve of you? Like, you're an adult. I don't think he's gotten that
Exactly.
memo. But yeah, I find this funny. It's going to be hilarious when all of this comes to a head. Like, we see how maniacal Jens is, and he's funny too. So it's like, could you imagine? This is going to be beyond Lucas's wildest imagination when all of this goes down and hits the fan and he sees who he really is, but also sees that part of Marco, because I could see if things hit the fan, he's going to see that Marco knew more than he realized and that Marco is really gung ho about going after Sonny. And I have to imagine that him going after Sonny might kind of like affect somebody else, like a Carly or somebody else in his family. So we'll see.
Yeah, he'll be back living with Ava very soon. Oh my gosh, okay. We talked about all the things. We covered all the stuff. Okay, Carly Brennan scenes, all I kept thinking was so much acting. Acting upon acting upon acting.
Oh my gosh, how can we forget about that? They were just so hard to watch.
It was hard to see her, kind of go through the motions and kind of that debate of like, do I go through with this or not? Or like, how do I maintain my relationship with him and still move forward plotting with Valentine? Like she has to. Like she has to be all in, like Valentine said. Like her life and so many people's lives that she loves are at stake if she falters.
Yeah, I definitely think this experience kind of showed her what she can handle and how hard this is
Mhm.
actually going to be. Yeah, no, it was so good. Like, it was definitely really hard to watch, but I'm like, How is she gonna maneuver this?" Right? Because but I think she did such a
Yeah.
good job of, not ignoring it and not pretending, but being like, "I am
Yeah.
finding it hard. I want to, but I'm struggling." So I kinda love that she's using their issues to kinda help explain this, but, if she's struggling like this, like you're pointing out, it's probably Valentine, right, that's gonna help support her through it. Because to be honest, it feels like a solo storyline. Like, I don't know at what point Jason's gonna push hard or notice something going on. I don't even know if it's gonna be Spinelli could be the reason he suddenly stumbles upon what she's really doing.
Okay. Okay, I'm here for it.
Okay, so the one other thing is I'm trying to figure out the C because like with the whole Brit and medication because it feels like Cesar is dead and the way that all the parties involved in this scheme are talking. And I looked up Heinrich's pseudonym, like the how he wrote, like he had written a book, like Peter.
Mhm.
I'm like, again, no C anywhere. I have no idea. I don't. Like, I don't know who Jens
It's
is working with. Because, like, the only other C, if it's not Cesar, that's a known character, is Corinthos, Morgan.
it's like I don't wanna
I don't know.
I
It
don't know what
doesn't
to think.
but this is all Faison history, Anna history being pulled in. So I don't know, but I'm just curious. Like, did you use this C as just a reminder of Cesar? But I'm trying to understand, like, where did the C come from? Because we know that there's a mystery guy. Someone sent it, but Jen's is pretty much like, we're supplying you with your drugs. So I'm just sort of curious because I'm kind of believing the idea that Cesar is dead.
And I totally forgot that Anna's still kidnapped and nobody's, like, talked about it.
I just remembered. as I was talking, I was like, nah, that's okay. We're all right.
Let's see what other good stuff happened. I'm going to give a star to this fake relationship that is getting to be really serious. I love that Jacinda said that.
But I thought they agreed it was real. Now I'm confused about their agreement because I thought they agreed
Right?
to be real. And she's like, it's getting real. And I'm like, I don't follow.
Like, is it getting real fake? Like, I know I don't follow, but I love them together. And I love that she has like a new career and she's like happy with her path. And of course, Michael's easy to love. Look at him.
Exactly. But just for 1 second about the whole Anna thing, I
Yeah.
just realized, like, remember when Brendan spun the story about Anna and Laura's like, I don't buy this story? She forgot that she
Yes.
doesn't buy the story because so much is going on. There actually
Oh,
was
that's
one
true.
person because everyone else is taking it at face value. But Laura was the only one that was like, that doesn't seem right. And then she moved on, as we all should. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. At some point, I look forward to knowing where she is, and I hope it's just, I don't know, more visually appealing once we
Yes.
find like, I hope they move her somewhere with, like, I don't know, just not so gray or
Yeah, it's
concretey.
pretty ugly. Okay, I'm gonna go for my favorite line first. I have one. There was lots of great lines, but this one stuck out to me when Joss said, "Okay, I gotta go. I have to go wash off the slime."
That was cute. I'm sorry, I didn't save any favorite
That's
lines.
okay. Let's throw some stars.
Think it's Jen's. Like, that was just hilarious. Look, Jen's is getting a star. Britt's breakdown was pretty incredible. So was Laura's. The whole dead body found there, like, so, like, again, that whole story and the lab in Dalton, just so much going on there. And a star to the Geo Brooklyn moment.
Yes.
Rick and Alexis,
Molly and
not Dante,
Cody.
Molly and Cody.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
give a star to the Dalton dead body acting because they rarely keep the eyes open, and he did a really good job at staying still, looking creepy, and keeping his eyes open without blinking.
Wow, good for him.
He plays a dead body well.
He does, but it was funny because when, like, Laura and him had that fight, I'm like, "Countdown to his demise." I just didn't think he was gonna be that fast.
I know, same, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm already guessing what your cutie pie moment is, but why don't you
You
share with
are?
us what your cutie pie moment of the week is?
I want you to guess, because maybe that's
Oh,
it.
great trick. I was gonna say the Geo Brooklyn moment.
Yes, that makes so much sense. That was absolutely my cutie pie.
Oh my gosh, I won. I'm so excited.
Yes, you guessed exactly right. That's my cutie pie moment. The link to get the coloring book is on our page. You can even just go straight to Amazon and look up the cutie pie coloring book. And yes, you could also check out the Instagram page if you just want more examples of the pages and stuff like that.
Great stocking stuffer. Christmas is right around the
Yes.
corner. Get your books, people. Oh my gosh. Okay. We covered all the things. We talked about all the stuff. Folks, that's a wrap. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye bye.